Hello, Jeremy. This is Dimitris from Metalkaoz in Chicago. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Excited? Because today is the day.
Today is the day. It's like my birthday almost or something. Everybody's calling, messaging me, congratulations. And for me, it's just a real sense of relief that after 3 years of working on this, we finally get to unveil it to the world.
3 years of working on that, or you mean
Well,
calendar?
from the inception of those first riffs to getting it as a complete record packaged out into the world, we've come a long way.
So when was the album ready to go? Because I know that record labels sometimes, they have their own schedule and they
Yeah.
delay.
We were recording the record about a year ago,
Okay.
and then it was mixed after that. It was probably submitted, geez, I want to say maybe September of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just kind of waited in the pipeline. You have to submit it pretty early because you have to give the label enough time to have it manufactured, and
Correct.
there's always, waits with that kind of stuff as well. So, but it also gives us all a good amount of time to plan the launch and get a tour booked if you're able to and all that stuff. So it's just a long time.
Out of curiosity, once you finish the record, you stop writing music or do you keep it going?
Typically there's a break,
Mm-hmm.
um, because like it's almost like a battery that's got to get recharged. And also we're at a point in our career where we have to be aware of our previous work and how it's affected people that like us, and how to take what we've done and grow from it. So if we started writing a record right now, like, on the week that it's the last one we recorded is being released, without having played it live yet and understanding the energy of these songs, all that stuff informs whatever happens next. So it's probably going to be a while.
Yeah, and makes sense because the band needs to see how the fans approach the songs,
Right.
and while playing live the band grows even more, gains more, I don't know, more clarity even in the musical
Exactly.
direction.
Yeah, that's a perfect word for it. You just learn like what stuff connects in what ways.
Mm-hmm.
We are all proud of every song on every record we've done. But there are certain songs that when we play them, we notice there's a different, give and take from the audience, with some songs that exceed others.
and
And then that
something that
informs what we do. Yeah.
and something that many of us, I'm talking about the fans now, forget. A band grows, the band members grow as much as we do. So as you
Yeah.
grow, things are changing sometimes inside your mind.
Oh
um,
yeah.
your likes or not likes, if I can use that term,
Yeah.
can shift, right?
Yeah, those can shift. What your goals are as an individual musician within the context of a band can change. And then, yeah, just as people, if you talk to any of us 10 years ago versus now, I don't think any of the three of us would say that we're the same people that we were 10 years ago in many, many ways. So, the through line in our life has been this band, but all three of us have gone through major life-changing events, and,
Yeah,
life priorities shifting and stuff. So all of that affects the music because the music is a reflection of the people who make it.
absolutely. And especially the last 10 years.
Oh, I know. Tell me about
Oh my
it.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
So with all this in mind, would you say there were things that you tried differently as compared to Lights On?
Definitely. Well, our first three records as a whole were done with very similar processes all around. We used the same recording engineer, the same studio, the same album cover artist. And this time we changed much of that. So, and also in the meantime, we all kind of, I can speak for myself as a guitar player, knowing that I'm on this constant quest to get the guitar to sound a certain way and to make it sound better and for me to play better. I used some different guitars this time around, different amps this time around. I had a lot more of a variety of tones I wanted to get this time around. And in terms of the approach to recording, we changed. That was completely different. We used a big professional studio with the analog console where platinum records had been recorded for the last 40 years. And we used two different engineers that were not the same person as before, and they had a different approach in terms of their attention to detail and different goals that they were presenting to us that we wouldn't have thought of otherwise. And so it was good to just get some fresh perspectives from people who are not directly in the band, but were connected to the band as friends and had the same level of enthusiasm for the material that we did.
So the motivation to try things or even freshen up was the main drive to work with Matt Brown, as you said, and Jerry Farley for the as engineers.
That just sort of happened naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Our drummer Nathan is good friends with both of those guys, and when we were writing the record, we were demoing the album, and we were doing that ourselves. And he was playing some material for those guys, and they were like, "Oh man, if I were doing this record, we could do this and we could do that, and blah blah blah." And then this conversation of excitement happens, and when you have people who are not in your band but are getting like excited and enthusiastic about the possibilities of what your band could do, and they're able to contribute on the technical side, uh, it's something that a lot of artists don't get the privilege of doing. So we were pretty lucky to have that. And then just yeah, we were using a different environment. We weren't in the city; we were outside the city. We were in a building that had a very rich history of successful, great sounding records. And I feel like there were some ghosts in the walls that were contributing to our performances. When you're in an environment like that, you sort of, it just puts your headspace in a different place. So
It can be not overwhelming. I cannot find a better word right now, but it can be inspirational, right? Or humble. It can make you
yeah,
feel humbler if you know that in this space, those
yeah.
bands work there,
There
right?
are certain, yeah, it's sort of like if you go to see a show at Madison Square Garden
Mm.
versus any other hockey arena in America. There's something about that place just because you know of the history there, of all the bands that have played there and all the major events that have happened there, that gives you this feeling that, whatever you're experiencing that night while you're there, it's more special than just a typical run-of-the-mill place. In this
Yeah.
studio, Utopia Bearsville was very similar. When I'm thinking of wow, a lot of great music's been done here. So that's what happens here. Great music and great records get made here. So let's do that too.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
hearing you say that both Matt and and Jerry like the music, I believe that is not the norm, right? When you go to an engineer, it's like another day at the job. So when you get that special extra, it
Yeah.
is an actual extra in the music, in the creation of the album.
Yeah. There's just that extra personal investment. And, they took as much pride in the final result as the band. And,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if you hire anybody for any technical job, it's whether it's your plumber or it's a recording engineer, you're not going to necessarily leave there and become, they're not necessarily also good friends of yours. They're
Of
there to
course.
do the job. They have the skills you need them to do the job. In this case, we were very lucky that we had two very skilled people who also, yeah, were emotionally and creatively invested in it. And they understood what we were going for, and they executed it as good as we ever could have hoped.
I don't know if that comparison, sound engineer with a plumber, is a valid one. Of
Well, look, I mean, I would say they're both skilled jobs that not everybody can do.
course, of
Although
course.
a lot of people think have a go at
That's the worst kind.
it.
That's the worst kind.
Yeah,
Have the toilet installed, and this guy leaves, and next day you have, God
yeah,
forbid,
yeah.
a anyhow.
Yep.
Um, I, I read in an interview that in Blind Wolf, before the first verse, you use something from the 2015 demo. Is this right?
Yeah, that is what you'd call an Easter egg, something hidden. So if you listen to our 2015 demo, the first song, Riding on the Dawn, which we later re-recorded for the first record, there's this sort of sound effect build-up thing that kind of builds and then pops into the drums hitting and the song starting. And during that song, we couldn't figure out a way to make that intro pop into the verse with this impact that we were wanting from it creatively. And so it was suggested, why don't we do something like that again? And why not just use the same exact file that we used for the other one and just manipulate it a little to fit this song? But it is literally from the demo, uh, that sound from the demo transferred to the newest record.
So,
Create that
in
smack.
other words, you got lazy. This is what you're saying.
Absolutely. No, no, I always liked when bands did those little through line things. Like sometimes you'll hear a melody, like Van Halen Jump. It has that outro where he's playing that little melody as it's fading out on the guitar. And then that outro becomes an intro years later for the song Standing on Top of the World. And
Now I need to check that.
yeah, so like if you're, and again, this is like nerd level dedication that a Sanhedrin fan would have to have in order to hear that we did that, to the same extent that, a really deep dive Van Halen fan, like me and many others who play guitar, would know, like, oh wait, that's the riff from Jump at the end of Jump, which is like a little passing riff that you hear one time, then it becomes the main riff of this other song later. I just like when you can create those little through lines when you can.
Yes, and you're referring to some kind of a lost start for the listeners, for us, the fans, that we don't spend too much time listening, because back in the day, once a new album was out, we will rip it apart. We will learn the lyrics,
Oh
we
yeah,
pay attention, read every line in the liner notes, everything, even the guests, even
yeah,
the thanks, thanks too, right?
yeah, yeah.
So
No, that's
it's not
we
nerd.
have that sort of approach because those are the types of music listeners and fans that we
Mhm.
are. And so that's who we're going to cater to. I
Yeah.
don't, I am an immersive, I get obsessed with records, I get obsessed with artists, and I get obsessed with production. I mean, a lot of my biggest influences as a songwriter come from producers
Hmm.
because I like how producers approach sonically, how they approach certain songs with, dynamics and stuff like that. All that stuff informs us. So why would we not have a little fun with it ourselves and
Of course.
expect that our listeners have the same level of dedication and intelligence that we do when it comes to music?
Small parenthesis. Are there plans to re-release the demo in a vinyl format?
Uh, there are no plans. We kind of will probably leave the demo as the 100 cassettes that it was, and that's that. Yeah,
Okay.
Again, as a collector of stuff, I think stuff like that is cool. I don't want to devalue the first 100 people to ever take an interest in us and give us, their hard-earned money. Uh, I don't want to devalue what little value that might have to them down the road by re-releasing it.
Only on vinyl. I'm not saying
Oh,
release,
sure.
as said, just to get. Anyhow, I
Well,
understand.
if we can expand on it, the other thing is those songs have all wound up being re-recorded uh, with better budgets and better studios at and wound up on future albums. So I don't rule it out, but I would say whatever we do will be from the approach of the diehard collectors
Correct,
of our
correct.
world, as opposed to just trying to make an easy buck off of it.
No, it's some sort of OCD as a fan. When you have the discography and you're missing the first one because it's only on cassette, you said, "Come on, man!
Yep. Oh
I
yeah, I
need
know.
that vinyl to complete
Yeah, but
my."
that's also like what adds to the mystique of certain things,
That's true. That's true too.
like those early Mayhem Death Crush records that
Mhm.
go for like $2,000 because
Yeah.
that's how many there are.
Yep. I'm just speaking as a selfish person. Come on.
That's okay. I
So
appreciate it.
you mentioned the cover art. So Johan Prenger, if I pronounce his name, did the cover art for this album. So what did you give him as inspiration?
Well, Johan is a friend of mine going back to before Sanhedrin, and so he came to see us once in Netherlands, and that was in 2019. And he was like, "You guys are really good. You got to push harder than you're pushing. You got to try to get on a bigger label and this and that." And it was really encouraging. And he's also a great painter. So when it came time to do things different this time, use a different cover artist, like we used a different engineers in studio, I asked him because I have four of his paintings in my house already. So I was like, "Hey, would you be interested?" And he was. And then I got him with Erica, and the two of them went over the lyrics of the album and just discussed some different ideas uh, to kind of come up with it. Something that reflects the lyrical themes of the album without directly alluding to what they could be. So Erica and Johan know what they were going for
Okay.
directly, but we left it so that it's open to interpretation to the listener. Like, who is this figure on the record? Why is she holding a book? What are the eyes in the woods? The lightning one's pretty obvious.
Yep.
Yeah, but just we wanted something striking and symmetrical and cool looking, and I think we're all extremely happy with it.
So you basically covered my question without answering that question.
But what's the
But
record? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the question was again the predatory eyes, the book. But no, I like um, the listener to put some work on that and
Exactly.
connect the dots.
It's that same old school approach of like read the lyrics, go through the credits, get to
Mhm.
know,
Yep.
immerse yourself in the album. Don't just if you're going to be a casual listener, then maybe it's just a cool looking album cover. But we want to give the listener the chance to listen to the themes of the album and then create their own story with their own imagination,
Hmm.
way that one would have in the, era before, music videos and certainly the internet era of instant gratification.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I think I have understood the band in terms how you write the songs and how you use the lyrics. It's not like two different aspects of the music making. Both of them are they're connected. For example, in Let's Spill Some Blood, you mentioned that the guitar riff is being repeated because you want to reflect what the lyrics are saying about repeating the same mistakes or history repeating itself, right?
Right. Yeah, that's something that's kind of a more recent thing for me as a songwriter to tap into. Um, and some of that's probably influenced by, so I guess the direct influence would be Alex Lifeson of Rush was talking in an interview about how and why the solo to Limelight is so unique and so ethereal. And he said, I wanted the solo to reflect the loneliness that the lyrics were conveying, but in their own way. And I just thought, well, that's a really deep way of looking at writing a rock song. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not something that we do all the time, but on this record, definitely more so than before. That's a great example of it. Another one would be King of Tides. We want we wanted that song to have a cinematic feel, and the cinematic feel coincides with this sort of narrative where you can close your eyes and have, at least I can, you can kind of picture the scenes that are happening as the music is setting up the scene for the lyrics. So Yeah, and these are things that you develop as you're a band for a long time, and you're just trying to find new ways to maybe dig a little deeper while still being true to, what your core sound is.
Mhm. Although King of Tides can be upsetting with reading the lyrics, it can raise your heartbeat, if you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Oh yeah.
uh, Sticking again with the lyrics, I had so much fun trying to find out what frankly counting line, what represents. I even asked AI to find the location in the States. I didn't know, I didn't check the band's Facebook. I was stupid enough. so, so it was, I said, I was trying to, what is so special with that freaking counting line? What happens if you cross that? So,
Well, yeah,
go on.
that's been a pleasant surprise for me because you know, that wasn't the reaction I was expecting when
Mhm.
we did that song. So where I live now is in the northernmost part of the state of New York, so quite far from Brooklyn now. And we have an Amish population up here.
Mhm.
And so last winter, a couple months before we went into the studio to record, Erica and Nathan came up here and we rehearsed up here. We rehearsed in this shack in the middle of winter,
Okay.
and we hadn't really worked on that song yet in person, so we were rehearsing that song a lot while also going over the songs that we had demoed. And it was a 45-minute drive to the place we were going to play. And on the way there, you'd see all these Amish buggies out on the road, and you'd see, they'd be out working or, hanging up their clothes and all this. And Erica had the idea of like, wouldn't it be an interesting lyrical concept to be like, what happens when you know,
People
these,
cross the
these
line, right?
girls, these religious girls, you know, religious teenagers in rebellion. But where we were rehearsing and where this was all occurring is where St. Lawrence County and Franklin County meet at the Franklin County line. And St. Lawrence County line doesn't have the phonetic
Right.
roll off tongue. Um, but yeah, because we have such an international fan base, and this is so specific to one of the most remote areas in all of the northeastern United States, people have had that problem. Like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And I was like,
What is
oh,
going on there?
I love it. Again, it's more mystique. The more the better.
And man, you released an amazing video for Blind Wolf. So it is true that you filmed that in 16 millimeter film?
Yep. 100% of that is 16 millimeter, which was later exported to an editing software to clip it up. But yeah, so our director Shanna is a good friend of Erica's for many, many, many years, and somebody who's become a friend to the band as a whole over our. She's who we've been staying with, for example, when we play in Detroit and stuff. And so she's an experimental filmmaker, and she wanted to get into directing some music videos, and so we had told her we wanted that song to have a video, and she coincidentally was reading some books about the history of American cults.
Mm.
And so we wound up kind of tying in the lyrics, which are about, cult behavior, into maybe a more 19th century inspired version of an American cult, like the early cults of, that era of America, many of whom started in the state of New York. And so, but yeah, she wanted to use film because there's just so many things you can do with film that look really cool, like all those multiple exposures and stuff like that. And I was like, how are you going to pull this off? How are you going to sync the music? How are you going to do all that? But she had a plan for everything. She had a plan for every scene, and I think it's a really interesting visual accompaniment to the song, and it's been watched by a lot of people. So kudos to her.
Oh yeah, and kudos, not kudos for you for not being so confident, because
Yeah, well, it wasn't. It was just sort of I just as she wouldn't know how to, set up a guitar tracking, and I might say I'm going to do these really complicated things, and she might be like, "Really?" I mean, I had faith in her because we've known her for a long time, and I know her to be a sophisticated and intelligent person, and she's a professional. She works as a professional in the film industry. But I was just thinking to myself, how how does this even work? How are you going to do this? But again, like she had a plan for everything, and it was executed very well, despite any number of challenges that you set yourself up for to do something like that.
So did it take longer, let's say, compared to the Let's Spill Some Blood video?
No, I think it was about the same amount of time. It was
Hmm.
2 days of 2 days of shooting. The Let's Spill Some Blood has probably more stuff going on in it, but because it was filmed digitally,
Mhm.
and you could do a lot of different angles a lot more quick. Whereas like it's sort of like recording to Pro Tools versus using a tape machine, where like you do a shot and then there's like a rewind of the film, and then you got to do another shot and so on. Whereas, filming it digitally, it's like, okay, let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again, and we'll just deal with it later
Yeah.
and edit it. So it was two very different experiences and two very different visual experiences for the viewer, but both of them represent the songs well, we think.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Live dates. So you have, and I feel so bad that I won't make it to the Health Heroes this year. So you have, I think, 3 dates in the States before going to Europe with Savage Master, and then have some dates on your own. And that goes until early June. So what is next?
We're still figuring that out. So right now, I think we're trying to see we have a lot more momentum
Mm-hmm.
behind this record than we've had before a record has been released with anything we've done before. And so I think we're trying to see what opportunities may present themselves in the coming month or two. I think we'd like to get out in the fall, either in the US, or back to Europe, or maybe somewhere we've never been before. Like, we've never done Australia, we've never done South America, we've never done Japan. If anybody's watching from any of those places, hit me up.
I hope you
Uh,
do.
but yeah, we're just sort of at this moment, we're taking it day by day, and between now and the end of our European tour, perhaps something will have presented itself by then. But as of right now, that's what's lined up right now. But we got our ears and eyes open.
So you won't tell me if you are coming to Chicago this year. You don't know, basically.
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't have anything that I can tell you. But we've been to Chicago twice the last few years. I imagine we'll be back. It's a wonderful town. We love playing there.
Again, speaking selfishly, man.
Yeah,
Jeremy, thank you very much for your time. Love the album, really love it, and love the aspect that you make me not only listen to the music but dig a little bit deeper. And I love that. I love that aspect. So
awesome.
keep doing that. Have safe travels, great shows, and see you in Chicago whenever you guys come here.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Thanks for having us.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Same to you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.